Good morning. Welcome to Ramona The Airstream. This is episode 6. It's bright and sunny and springtime here in Colorado, which feels oh so good. I hope it doesn't snow again. The sun is shining. It's lovely.
I wore the wrong clothes out here today. Long sleeve and pants. It's a little toasty.
I know, wishing my coffee was iced. So we got up, we're ready to do the show, and I said to my husband, you need to move your truck, it's in the way, we need to do our show, we have to go live in like 5 minutes, move your truck. And as a response, my husband says to me, oh no, we need to feature her in the show. She's a guest.
Hold on.
She's a guest, she can be our guest star.
No.
What's its
we
name?
We have your honey.
What's its name? He says, you can say this to introduce her. And I say,
no, hey,
this
we got a special,
not acting.
special guest to introduce you to today on our show.
Oh, really? Who's our special guest, dear? How excited to have
Special
a guest star.
is another member of our family y'all didn't even know about.
She has a name?
Call her Big Green.
Big Green,
well,
apparently.
really, I mean, she was not birthed from us.
Only mammals are birthed.
We adopted her. And there's a little bit of a backstory behind that, but well, we'll tell the backstory, right? So the way Big Green came into our lives was our Airstream, and the fact that we went and met our awesome friends Nate and Rochelle.
Well, before that, I want to say that if you've been watching, one thing you've probably learned about us is that we don't like really plan the things. We just do the things. Like Tom would plan the things if it was all on him, but he's married to me. So I go, oh, this is what we're going to do. And then we just do it. And then when you do that, because you didn't plan the things, then all the like results of that decision, they come later, right?
Yep.
So we told you a story about how we got the Airstream. Like, oh, we're going to get an Airstream. So we get the Airstream. And, you know, what we didn't plan about owning an Airstream is like, you have to tow an Airstream. Like, you have to pull it around. So we didn't put a lot of thought and research into whether or not we were capable of doing that. We just, you know, bought an Airstream because that's how I do things.
Well, and you know, coming down from where we bought it in Wyoming, it was...
We made it home.
Well, we did, but it was pretty much like a downhill grade, right? Slightly downhill. So we didn't have any struggles in my old Dodge Ram 1500, which, you know, I didn't love that truck anyway. The thing exploded on me from the day I bought it. But anyway, so our friends Nate and Rochelle, we were going camping in Pagosa Springs. It's halfway between Phoenix and Loveland, where we live, 6 hours each way, so we figured it'd be a perfect spot, right down by, what's the D city?
Durango.
So, we hook everything up, and we drive down there. We get there just fine.
That was our first trip. That was our first
big trip, yeah, right?
It was our first trip.
Oh, first trip.
Period.
At
all.
Okay.
We were going to like do little ones first, and then it didn't happen. So our first trip was let's drive 6 hours and tow the thing for a couple hundred miles.
Yeah. And when we were driving, I mean, it was later at night, so it was cooler and everything, whatever, going through the mountains. We made it. It was good. The truck struggled a little bit, but we made it. Because those, I mean, you ever drive through the Rocky Mountains, like, some crazy
right, that's important to notice if people aren't around from here. Like, there's a difference between driving most places in the country, like just driving around and highway driving, and like literally if you look to the end of our street, you see mountains, and Rocky Mountains are serious mountains. Like, we're not talking about a little hill. Like, this is real deal mountain range, and driving through the Rocky Mountains is a completely different situation than driving anywhere else you might. Most places. Sorry, continue.
Like the beach. So we camped, had a wonderful weekend, was awesome, and then we pack everything up and we're heading out. And when you come back out of there, there's a huge mountain pass that you got to climb up, and really steep grade. I think it's one of the biggest passes in Colorado. And we come around the corner. I mean, truck's like, I got the pedal floored, and we're like barely going up this thing, and we probably didn't make it more than what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of driving up this thing, and all of a sudden I see my temperature gauge just going up, up, up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this don't look good. And eventually it hits into the red, and I'm starting to smell an interesting smell, which I hadn't smelled before because I've never experienced this before. But apparently it was the smell of my radiator cap blowing off and coolant exploding everywhere in the engine bay, and the truck completely, I mean, it was like way past red line. I'm like, oh my god, like the engine's gonna blow, we gotta stop. So we pull off the side of the mountain, and we're on this like crazy grade, right? And we're pulled off the side, and it's
just like on the shoulder. We couldn't even get far enough to get to a pull
on the
off
shoulder, no guardrails, and it's like 2 lanes each way, so it's like a pretty big road. But anyway, we're like, what do we do? So I get out, and of course, you know, I don't really know a whole lot about vehicles, so I pop the hood and I'm looking under there like pretending.
It looks like you knew what was happening. I had confidence in you.
Thanks. So what I did realize though was the entire engine
also keep in mind we have 3 children, so there's 3 small children
and a dog.
And the dog in the car, in my opinion, what felt like a very dangerous situation.
It's probably pretty dangerous. Yeah, so the engine's completely wet, no cap on the radiator. I realized what happened. I'm like, all right, well, there's no like going up this thing anymore. Like that's not happening. So we decided we had to go back down the little bit that we went up, and
which involved a U-turn.
Yeah.
Which is a really fun thing to do.
Oh my
with
gosh,
a
yeah, a U-turn on this giant pass.
On a 2-lane.
Yeah.
Tiny road
so,
with a cliff.
Yeah, so we waited a little while for the temperature to go down just a little bit, so it's just below red, and turned the car on.
Oh, and of course there's no cell phone service because you're on the mountain pass.
Yeah,
at that point, we
right.
like couldn't
Couldn't
look
call our
anything
friends
up,
for
couldn't
help
like
or-
Google anything, couldn't
Yeah.
call anybody, like.
Yeah. So, yeah, and like the town of Pagosa Springs is probably about 15 minutes away from where we were at, so like, all right, well, we're on a little bit of a mountain, like, let's see if we can coast down this thing. So we do this U-turn on this pass, you know, this giant side of this mountain, and we do it. Delmar's freaking out.
Me?
And,
No, I didn't do that.
and I got this in my truck in neutral, basically, and I'm just trying to coast down. And as I'm, like, coasting down in neutral, not using the gas at all, the temperature's going up. I'm like, how does that happen? But it did. And so we got down maybe 2/3 of the way, and then we had to stop and pull off, let it cool down a little bit. We went a little bit more, you know, maybe like 10, 15 seconds, had to stop, let it cool down. It was crazy. And then when we finally got to service, we called our friends. They were already like...
Or the opposite direction, like going home.
Yeah,
to
20 minutes out of town.
Arizona.
Anyway,
Yeah.
long story short, we ended up having to leave the trailer, leave the Airstream in Pagosa Springs, 6 hours away from home.
Well, they got us fluid first, so we had to park on the side of the road, and that was their
I'm doing
rescue.
the long story short version.
Oh, okay.
Long story short.
Got some fluid in
So we had to leave the Airstream. We drove home just fine. We had brought my truck to mechanic. Turns out it was like the wrong size radiator cap, but I mean, really, the truck's not designed to pull that much weight anyway. So, so anyway, it was we were looking to get a different vehicle anyway, different tow vehicle, but this was like the final
And it was really
straw.
crazy to leave it. Like, where do you just leave it, right? Like, where do you just park? I know it's a short story short, but like, this is a fun part of it.
Short.
What?
Short story short.
Long story short. You know what you do? You can't just leave it. Like, what do we do? Just leave it on the side of the road? Like, we just bought this trailer. Like, we love this trailer. Like, is it going to be safe? Like, you can't just. What do you do?
Yeah.
So
who do you know out there, right?
you don't know
Who'd
anybody.
be
We're
the
like
who'd be the
7
perfect person?
hours away. To just
Yeah.
like, where do you just leave it?
So like, as we're at the gas station, I'm like talking to the gas station clerk lady, right, at this like Mobile One, and I'm like telling her about this whole situation, and she's like, well, you can leave it at my house.
which was really kind, but it was like the sketchiest situation. So we show up there and we're like, you know, like one of those you drive by and you see people that have like, you know, a lot or whatever with all these like old things and broken down things and broken cars, and you're like, why do they collect broken cars? Like, what do they do here? They got a couple other trailers, and we're like, we don't have another option, but it feels like there is a solid chance that this is the last time we're going to see our trailer. Like, you don't know this person, like you maybe have her phone number. Do you even know her name? Did you get her name? Like, what's her name? Like, we are going to come back for the trailer and be like, oh, I thought you picked it up. It's been gone. Like, we thought for sure we weren't.
Thank God we have insurance on the Airstream, which we need to renew, actually. That lapsed.
We did have insurance once.
And yeah, and we've got, God, he's always looking out, protecting us. That's a cool truck. So we decided to leave it there, and we prayed on the way out that it would be okay. And if not, that insurance would, bless us with a new one or something. But so we left it, we drove home, and then as we're like an hour into driving, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to get that lady's phone number. So we had no way to get a hold of this lady to see if it was all right. Anyway, ended up finding it, called the gas station, they provided it. But so
long story short,
we went, so like that week I'm like, okay, well, we need to get the Airstream back. We can't like bring my truck back and go pick it up. So like this week we have to find a truck. And so I ended up like looking everywhere, just decided, it'd be easier just to go to a dealer. I'm cheap, if you guys didn't know that yet. So I'm, I'd love to just scour the private seller listings first, because of course you're going to save some money there. But we didn't really have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Not only is he cheap, he's very particular. Very, very picky about the things that he wants. And has to do all the research
we'll
about.
Condense that moment. But I basically was at a Ford dealership.
Good morning, Lauren.
Found a truck that we decided that, could work, and I liked the truck. But then as I went to go pick it up to go buy it, I realized that it didn't have the tow package that we needed, and the guy completely lied to us, and that was not cool. So I got there and told him that, and it was a little bit of a heated debate. And but anyway, they ended up saying, you know what, just take it for the weekend, and you guys can try it out and see if it works. So
we basically borrowed a truck from the dealership to drive 7 hours, pick up a trailer.
And it worked.
All that to say, we got the trailer back. Obviously, it's here, and Tom had to buy a new truck, and now his man heart is full because his truck has power to pull the things and goes vroom vroom vroom.
Yeah. So diesel, right, as we're talking to all these people on these Airstream forums, and they're like, just get an F-250 diesel, you'll never have to worry about the grades or any of that stuff ever again. I was a little bit nervous about diesel. I've never had one, but anyway, I'm talking to some people at work about this, and this guy that one of my friends there is like, he goes, oh, you're looking for a diesel? He goes, I actually have an F-250 diesel. It was my dad's truck that we're looking at potentially selling here soon. And so yeah, the one thing that we learned through some of those groups is a lot of people are like, if you can find a 99 to 01, 02 250 diesel with a 7.3 engine.
Tom did all the research.
That stuff, but apparently they're these legendary trucks that will last 1 million miles. And so 500,000, it's a lot, right? So
million sounds.
I'm like, what kind of truck it is? And he goes, well, it's a 2001 F-250 with a 7.3, and I don't know if you know anything about them, but they're good trucks. And it's my dad's. He owned it basically the first owner. I think the first guy had it for 1,500 miles, and he goes, and my dad's babied this thing. Everything was done on time. He's kept it immaculate. It's got low miles. I think it had 120,000 miles when we got it, and which is insane for that year, obviously. So they always had a name for it, which was Big Green. So we've adopted Big Green. So
I feel like I didn't even know this.
Yeah, I don't think I ever told you that.
Why don't you call her that?
Big
I didn't
Green.
know that until you said you wanted
Green.
to introduce it to the show today.
Oh yeah,
So
Big
it
Green's
has
her
a name?
So we want to introduce you to Big Green because Big Green is an integral part of our journey, and yeah. So this is Big Green. Big Green is here, and we need to move Big Green so we can get into the Airstream. I'm gonna fire her up and move this bad boy, and let you listen to the sound of this beautiful diesel. engine is pretty gnarly. All right, and then let's get in Airstream.
Men are so weird. So excited about this vehicle. Kind of like, whatever, does it pull the Airstream? Fine. No, it has to have a name. It has to be loved. It makes it very happy.
I'll wait for the glow plugs to warm up.
No, just start it, move it. We have a show to do. Loud, but for real though, like getting stuck sucked. Like it was not awesome to get stuck. And for any of you like thinking about RVing, thinking about pulling a trailer, whether it's an Airstream or whatever, like that really is an important thing to think about and consider and plan, which we didn't initially. Like you have to be able to pull this thing, right? Like it's an essential part of the situation. So it does feel really awesome to have a sound vehicle that I feel like has the capacity to pull the weight of this thing, and it's not just the trailer. Like we learned in that whole process, like you have to consider not just the weight of the trailer, but like your stuff, and also what's called the tongue weight, which is how much weight is in the vehicle. So like your family and your extra equipment, Thomas's dirt bike, like all this stuff like has to all be considered. So all that to say, are you gonna close your door? You just leave your door open?
No, I'm gonna introduce you to Big Green.
Airstream.
We're gonna go fast. We're gonna go fast.
It's not about
Check it
your
out.
truck, it's about our Airstream.
Check it out.
Nobody cares about your interior.
Big Green.
Nobody cares.
Everybody cares. Oh look. So the kids love Big Green because Big Green's big. Big Green's got room. So, ooh, I got a lot of stuff packed back there right now. You know, pretty sweet. I thought it was a pretty sweet deal here, right? We got the full-on leathers. Bad boys even got seat heaters. That's pretty legit for 2001, don't you think? But anyway, there's Big Green. Big Green's interior, nice and comfy, nice and roomy. It's gonna make a good travel companion. All right, that's enough. Let's get into the Airstream. Now that you guys know who Big Green is. So, honey, what did we do this last couple weeks?
Yeah, we did a lot of work. We had such a great work day. So, as you all know, we're in the process of like demolition. We have so much work to do, but you can't do any of the work until you take out what is already there. And that sounds like such a simple statement, but there's so many steps to that. So we feel really excited that we're really on, we're about done. Like it's the first big check step that we are like finishing, and now we're ready to move on to like actual repairs and upgrades, which is awesome. Oh yay, Lauren says they're going to look at an RV today. Oh, and she's excited about the seat heaters because she's always cold. Get seat heaters.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Your warm butt.
Speaking of which, Lauren is, they were our special guests two episodes ago.
Yeah.
And my brother, although I'm not sure if he knows much about diesel, but he is a master technician for Honda, which is going to be an incredible, valuable asset while we're on the road.
On the side of the road. Although we're not going to get stuck on the side of the road now.
So if Big Green ever has a temper tantrum and we get stuck somewhere, Scott, you my boy Blue. And I'm gonna have to. You're gonna need to look up how to work on diesels though, if you don't know yet, because I don't know nothing about that.
Okay, so remember last time there was walls, there was
Right.
panels, there used to be interior, and it's all gone. It's all gone. We did so much work, and it's so exciting. Like, look how it's all cleaned out. We got all the insulation out, all the walls out, and it's feeling so much more like a blank canvas, ready to start all the things. And you can put that down. Why are you holding it, like hovering it 2 inches?
I don't know. But yeah, as you can see here, like all these skins, I think they call them, you know, were on before, and we had to pull all those off, and then behind the skins, you can still see some of it stuck here, is insulation. So we had to rip all the insulation out, and you know, now there's like wires hanging everywhere. And one thing I wished I would have done prior to all of that was labeling the wires so you actually knew what they were for. You know, I was thinking about it. I was looking at the Airstream the other day, and I'm like, man,
it's not all shaky.
There's probably some articles out there, like 10 things I wish I would have done.
It's a blog post.
When
we can document them.
When remodeling my Airstream, you know, like in hindsight. And I wish I would have found that article prior and read it. Again, because I'm the type that likes to like look stuff up, be prepared. But I didn't. And so now there are wires everywhere. And who knows what they're for. But I think the good thing is we at least have enough like video from the show and pictures that we could probably get an idea of where they go to. But
it's fine. Everything's fine. It's gonna be fine. So I was so excited about this project. Like, let me tell you why I was so excited about it, because
you're shaking now.
What?
Should we sit down? You're shaking. The whole camera's wobbling back and forth.
Yeah, we can sit down. I was so excited about this project because, if we're being real, we were really nervous about this project. Like, something...
Are these some bicycles riding by? What's happening?
Bicycle police patrolling our neighborhood. Weird. I'm not going to overthink that. They're just going on a stroll on their break. Anyway, wow, that like took my train of thought. The walls. So in our brains, I don't know how much we've like vocalized it, but I feel like we were really quite nervous about taking off these skins. Like,
yeah,
there was
nervous about it.
Like, what are we gonna uncover, right? Like, for one, can we get them off? Like, how hard is that?
It's about 1,000 rivets you gotta drill out.
Yeah, at least. I counted one. I was like, okay, well, there's 150 on this panel. So we were well over 1,000 rivets to pull out. So we were like, can we even do that? Like, and the walls are so important. Like, if you break one, they're not easy to get replaced. Like, this is a vintage trailer. And
who has like a full inventory of 1973 Airstream TradeWind.
Not Landstream, it's the Land Yacht.
Oh, Land Yacht TradeWind,
like a boat.
Airstream interior skins.
Yeah, no,
it's just not
no. So I'm like, okay, if we break them, like, this is really gonna be a problem. So they're super fragile. We don't know how to take them apart. They look really like all stacked on top of each other, and like, how do we even get it apart, and like, what in the world are we gonna find behind it? Like, I'm normally super positive, but I'm like, oh god, like, there's gotta be mold and like rodent damage. Like, I've read all these things about like, oh, like, wait till you find like all the rat's nests and all these things that like critters bury themselves in there. And
we'll tell you about one thing that we found, but I'll let you continue.
Okay. So anyway, I just feel like we were super nervous about what are we going to find and what other horrible doors is it going to open for things that we have to do. And it felt so exciting to do this project because like it was fine. Like, it was a day of work, but we did it. We knocked it out. Like, we put on the music and we did it together. We put on some gloves. Like, we just did it, and all the horrible, scary things of breaking things and finding mold and all this stuff, like, it didn't happen. Like, we just did it. And I do understand that maybe not every project is gonna go like that, and some crazy things could occur, but that was the first big one that we were like kind of scared to do and afraid of what could happen, and everything was fine. So I'm going to take that as a sign that all of our projects are going to go so nice and smoothly, just like that. And we're just going to have so fun doing all the projects, putting on the music, drinking beer, like just knocking it out and getting it done. So anyway, that felt good. Now our canvas is basically blank. Like we have repairs to do before we can start like
so we
remodeling. So our next steps, I think one of the biggest next steps is we have to find and repair all of the leaks. So over time, all the rivets that hold the panels and stuff together, like they do, some of them come loose, some of them come undone, some of them need to be tightened, some need to be replaced, and like water seeps in. So we have to find leaks, repair rivets. Some of the gaskets and the window seals are old and dry rotted, so we'll probably just replace them all. So we have to get those, figure out how to take out the windows, replace the seals, go through and seal up anything, anywhere that like water, moisture, or anything can get in. And that's probably like a first step, because you don't want to repair anything that's going to continue to get damaged from more water leaking. And that's one thing I will say is we didn't find mold, but we did find a lot of moisture. Like wet is getting in from multiple places for sure. So fixing the leaks, fixing the windows. Some of the windows, like I can just show you, I don't know if you can see how well that, up there. They're nasty. Like I don't know what the deal is with this, but there's like a film that was in it that like all cracked off over time that now, you can see this one better. I don't think you can, but it's gross. So we have to figure out how to get those panels apart, scrape that off, clean that off, reseal them. There's also minor dents, but we have dents, and the best way to get them off is from the inside. So since we have the skins off anyway, you kind of like, I don't know, like roll them out, or so you can get a tool that you push them out from the inside. So we're going to do dents while we have that off. The windows, seals, then the floor, I guess. Floor is probably not good to replace pieces of the floor, not the whole floor, but pieces of it. So that's probably the next step. But either way, like real repairs, like we're on our way to like actually fixing the things now, opposed to just taking them apart.
Yeah. And we're going to review the whole electrical situation, but fortunately, I come from 3 generations of electricians in my family, and so I've already talked with my Uncle Tom about...
Oh, did you? I keep saying you need to do that. Did you
yeah,
call him?
I did, and he said, okay.
I know, see, I told you.
So,
Tom's his favorite, in case you're in his... Well, I'm sure he has all the favorites. I shouldn't say that anybody else isn't his favorite.
Scott's watching, don't say that.
Tom and Tom, it's his namesake. I think they got a thing. So we say, hey, would you like to like do some labor with a plane ticket and the blessing of spending time with your favorite nephew?
Yeah, so he's gonna come out and help me figure out the electrical. You know, like I think I obviously can like figure out like what things go to, and we can always rehook things back up. But that said, like he might take a look at some of these wires and be like, oh yeah, no, that's not good, that's not safe, that needs to be replaced, there's way better stuff, or whatever. So we're gonna consult him and get him out here, so maybe he can be on one of our shows, or maybe a bonus episode or something, I don't know. But the one thing I did want to show you that we found, we talked a little bit about it on our last show. We talked about doing maybe some little contest around it. Oh, this is a goodie.
That was a joke, Tom.
Oh, it's not a joke. Speaking of jokes, I think I decided that I'm going to do a joke on every show moving forward.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Tom, like, you know, the stereotype of, like, dad jokes? Like, that.
So, check it out.
He does that.
Look what I found for you, Scott. We got some, some nice, dry, crispy bugs. So we're gonna have Juliet form those into some nice little treats, some little chocolates or something. We got a whole slew of them here. It's gonna be limited release though, because you know there's only so many. So maybe we'll put those up on our website and we can sell them for anybody who wants a novelty item.
If you have all this time to come up with inventions and research, like figure out how to do the floor or the windows.
It's gonna be good. Speaking of our website, it's almost finished.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay.
So RamonaTheAirstream.com will be finished.
Yeah, we'll
shortly.
be vlogging and.
So.
I just thought of it in hindsight thing. We need to start this list because I think this is going to be a good thing. 10 things in hindsight. As you're talking about the electrical, I know you said about like labeling and stuff, but the other thing that we didn't do is actually like see what works before we unplugged everything. Like, does this outlet even work, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, does the power even go to this? Does like this even? Does the electric even? Does it even work? I mean, we didn't.
Uncle Tom, you might need to bring some tester tools with you.
We didn't do any of that.
So, I have a question for you all.
Why do I feel frightened? Like, I feel so nervous about what you're going to say all of a sudden.
Good question for you. You might know the answer, though. So if you know the answer, don't say it. You gotta pretend like you don't know the answer. What do you do when you find a spaceman?
Why are we doing this?
You park there, man. Get it?
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah, dad jokes.
I'll leave that one with you guys this week.
Are we done? What time is it?
I have no idea.
Because you're moving on to dad jokes and bug candy, and I feel like that's not supposed to be the content.
Do you have a way of
of
like
a
seeing
show.
what time it is on your phone?
I mean, I don't know, because we're live. How
I
long
can
have we
go-
been
I
talking?
can go look at the clock in Big Green. How about that?
I don't know. I feel like we're done. I feel like
Big
we're
Green,
talking.
help us! Help us, Big Green!
Stop it. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. You don't need to go to our truck. Anyway, we wanted to show you, like, we felt so excited doing all this. So much work, it's done, we're excited, the canvas is blank, and now we get to move on to things. It should be interesting, because now this is like the first step of, like, we need things to do the things that we don't have. So now we're gonna have to figure out, like, getting new tools and getting gaskets and getting things that we need to move on to the next project.
Big Green, she came through in a pinch, and we're 2 minutes over.
I'm gonna go before he tells you another dad joke.
See you later. Oh no, next week.